secure the field. And I think the armored car must have called in some assistance. I see some advancing infantry to my right off to the northeast. The Americans have a nice collection of vehicles here in addition to the Jeeps and the deuce and a halfs. They've got some M2 half tracks, which are an armored car used for armored personnel carrier. This 251 that's in front of us has a crew of a driver and a radio operator, and it carries a full squad of 10 men, and it's rather small inside once you put 12 people inside of there. This is a vehicle's owned here in Michigan, as well as the German tank is from Clio, Michigan, fully restored with the a family operation that restores military vehicles. It's a piece of art for us that they bring to the air show almost every year. Yet there is a counterattack off to our northeast by American, looks like airborne troops supported by Jeeps and a towed anti-tank gun.
Airborne!
And off to the right, I see now also, I'm sorry, to your left, to the southwest is a larger American armored column with a 3-inch anti-tank gun being pulled by a prime mover and an American M2 half-track with infantry support.
And a B-25 going up for support.
And what happened this morning, the Americans had found themselves caught between two forces attacking from opposite directions. Now the Germans find themselves caught between two different Allied columns. And that was an awfully bad sound I heard just go by there, Rob. What'd that sound like taking off?
Freedom!
I just heard a terrible sound that the Germans don't like to hear.
That's indeed, and that's the sound of two 1,700 horsepower Wright Cyclone engines powering B-25 Mitchell bombers, also suitable for ground attack.
That's right, because they've got those 50 calibers in there as well, plus ground support rockets and things like that.
Yes, indeed. Typically, those airplanes carried a 3,000-pound bomb load for medium altitudes, but they have modified some of those B-25s to carry a total of 18 machine guns, I think about 14 of them forward firing. It was devastating when they concentrated all that firepower on the enemy on the ground.
Yeah, and it was also used very effectively in the Pacific on anti-shipping strafing runs of Japanese shipping.
Indeed, they were. As a matter of fact, one of them, Alphonse, was actually outfitted, one particular model, outfitted with a 75-millimeter cannon. And you talk about devastating. Couldn't carry a lot of rounds, but boy, if it got one on target, it would blow anything up.
Right, and it made it quite unstable when firing because it actually slowed the plane down so much when it would shoot.
The recoil was awful.
You guys have to surrender over there.
From the right, here comes the B-25. That's the Yankee Warrior from right here at the Yankee Air Museum.
Woohoo! Beautiful.
Coming in from the right now, this B-25 Mitchell's Georgie's Gal, built in Kansas City in 1945. It's from the Liberty Aviation Museum over in Port Clinton, Ohio.
And this is in the middle, right in the front here, the prime mover just unlimbered a 3-inch anti-tank gun. The armored support allowed them to drive right through the infantry of the German lines. And I think some of the Germans don't realize that they're being cut off and surrounded.
How's that for your ears, everybody?
Sounds good to me.
Alphonse, that is just deafening.
That's the loudest one we have here today.
And that's a 3-inch?
Yes, sir. 3-inch. That means 3 inches in diameter for the round going down range.
How far could it fire a round?
Effectively about 1,500 meters, depending on its target.
So that's better than a mile.
Not quite a
Or
mile.
just a mile. Okay, got it. Just under a mile.
Depending on the target it's firing at.
He's pointing at this direction. Oh,
Well, he sees the German Hetzer, which is actually facing away. I don't even see crew in the Hetzer anymore. I think they might have been taken out as casualties at this close range especially. Here comes another B-25, Rob.
The B-25 that you see there was one of about 9,600 that were built by North American Aviation. As Alphonse and I were talking about, one of the most heavily field modified aircraft of the war. But it is best known for an air raid that took place just months after the Americans were brought into the war after Pearl Harbor, where 16 of those airplanes were actually loaded on an aircraft carrier.
Heavenly body.
And Rob, it's my understanding they stripped them of every kind of bit of weight that they didn't even have machine guns on there because it was going to be a surprise attack and they didn't expect any Japanese air defense.
Exactly.
Right. And then the Japanese wondered where they came from, Roosevelt told them he had his secret base in Shangri-La, and they couldn't figure out what base that was.
And that's a new story for me. I like that. Point of fact that they did exactly what Alphonse said, and that's they stripped it. They even, instead of having real machine guns sticking out the back and the tail and the top turret, they actually just had broomsticks painted black. They wanted to save all the weight possible because literally they were tasked with launching from an aircraft carrier in only 467 feet of deck space. 16 of them fly low and slow over the ocean till the time they reach Japan 400 miles later. They popped up, and those 16 different airplanes bombed targets in Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, Kobe, and Yokohama. They totally surprised the Japanese. That Japanese island, that nation had not been bombed on its own soil in over 2,000 years, and it really shook the Japanese feeling of invincibility.
Flybys do we get? I know. Yeah, it's tight. I lived in San Fernando Valley, and the Airport has one. And it would go on weekends. So I'd be out front detailing my car, and all of a sudden you hear the engines.
And it looks like the Southwestern Axis forces have been collected as prisoners, and they're driving through the center.
Checking for dead jets. Here we go. We got our final assault over here, guys. Oh, we got one down. Keep your head down, airborne. Come on. Here he comes. We got the B-25 coming from the front right here.
Yes, oh, and that's the finish. The Americans have coupled up with each other. They've victorious over the valiant efforts of the Wehrmacht here. And we have out in the, I want to give acknowledgement, we have a World War II veteran, 92 years old. He still fits in his World War II uniform. Rich Pylon, wave to the crowd, Rich. He's in front of the VIP tents to my right. Hey, Rich. And this morning battle, when the Germans were victorious, Rich took one for the Gipper, and he suffered a casualty, but he miraculously was only a flesh wound, and he came back out to help win the afternoon battle. So this, thanks to all the reenactors that are out here. Let's give them some recognition. A lot of these reenactors come from out of state. We do have a lot of local units that are based here in Michigan. The vehicles are primarily from Michigan, but they come as far away as Kansas City and Pennsylvania.